What does it mean to be truly alone, to be forgotten, to be cast aside, when no one can save you from yourself, and all you are left with are these feelings? What can you possibly do to fight them? A lot of the time, people seek out answers to questions that have none, and it drives them crazy. Dwelling on these thoughts is all you can possibly do at any given time, because if you don't think about them, you are just not putting enough effort in. Some would argue. If you don't devote your time into thinking of the impossible constantly, then what are you even doing? These thoughts of death and loneliness don't help anyone at all, but not thinking about them is like putting off the inevitable. People know though, and they can't think about these things, because if you spare even a moment for them, they won't go away, ever. This is a segment of Album of the Year user host's review on the album, and they recapped it in one paragraph way better than I ever could. I've also taken bits and pieces of inspiration from their review, so the full review will be in the description below. I highly suggest following them and checking out the review of the album because it's an excellent review. Let's talk about Def's dynamic Shroud. The trio of James Webster, Keith Rankin, and Tech Honors has been a pioneering force in the electronic and vaporwave scene since their formation in late 2013. Originally formed by James Webster and Tech Honors, who share a musical history dating back to their teenage years in a space rock band, with the group expanding in 2014 with the addition of Keith Rankin, another electronic music producer, but also someone who's dabbled in other genres like psychedelia and prog rock, completing the lineup that would be known today. Their early work consisted of vaporwave mixtapes that showed an immersive, nostalgic aesthetic, but over time, they've explored other genres like art pop and glitch pop, continually experimenting with genres and sounds. With almost a decade and a half of releases, Def's dynamic Shroud have amassed a discography full of critically acclaimed albums and beloved projects. Among these, there's one album in particular that continues to stand out, both for its emotional weight, great use of sampling, and incredibly immersive sound. First self-released on August 1st, 2014, Regret When It Was Lost, stylized as
失われた時リグレット
marks the first true collaborative album between James Webster and Tech Honors under the Def's dynamic Shroud name. While both artists had previously released solo-made mixtapes under the Def's dynamic Shroud banner, this project brought their creative forces together for the first time in a unified vision. The album delves into themes of isolation, loneliness, and emotional decay, not necessarily through direct lyrics, but through a hauntingly powerful use of sampling and sonic atmosphere. It's a deeply affecting listen, evoking the feeling of memories fading into a sea of fog. The sound is rich with nostalgia, love, loss, and the surreal disconnection from reality that often accompanies isolation. Regret When It Was Lost doesn't just suggest sadness, it immerses you in it, creating a space where everything feels like it is slowly sinking into the fog. It's an emotionally powerful, almost overwhelming work that perfectly encapsulates the feeling of everyone's worst fear, being alone with yourself. Starting with the opening track of the album, Alone, stylized in Russian to
одинокий.
It plants you in the space for what's about to come. While only 1 minute 20 seconds in length, it gives you a short prelude to the future. Promise Ring, stylized to this different mishmash of characters, while still relatively calm, it introduces you to the overall sound of the album to come. The overarching sample of Babyface's 1989 single, Soon As I Get Home, throughout it. Repeating the verse, I'll give you love, I'll buy your clothes, I'll cook you dinner too. The words of someone looking for affection or a close relationship, almost seeming desperate for it. The song slowly gets more choppy towards the end, sort of it being like a distant memory that you can't fully remember properly. Romantic Memory 1, stylized in Japanese as
まちくなしいでいち
is a luscious landscape of sound. almost like a happy memory peeking through a sea of fog and thoughts, and a calm before the storm, sampling the 3DS main menu music, funnily enough. Infinite Cigarette, stylized as another whole mishmash of different characters, is the start of the storm, the first hard hitter of the album. There are some louder synth moments towards the end of the track that almost feel like agony or anger. Almost like the sadness at the beginning of the track eventually turns into underlying anger and peril of the situation, burning like an infinite cigarette. How long has it been? Stylized in Russian too.
Как давно это было?
Feels like something you would find off a project by another famous ambient musician, The Caretaker, which I'm sure you all know quite well as he's been all over the place. This song is very nostalgic feeling. It feels like a distant, foggy memory of a happy time many moons ago. The title of the track pretty much sums it up. How long has it been since this happy memory wasn't a memory, but an event happening in real time? Staralgia is the next major big hitter of the album, a rich sounding, sweeping track that is an absolute immerser of a song. It feels like some sort of adventure for your mind almost, like you're on a plane travelling through mind space, dodging meteors of bundled up memories, happy and sad. It has an excellent build, getting more and more rich and more immersive as the song continues. Bedroom Visit, stylized as another big mishmash of characters, is another harrowing, dreamy piano violin piece, almost like a pianist and a violinist have visited your bedroom in a hallucination or a moment where your mind has pondered. You're taken out of the duet as the song progresses, as watery synths start to play and you drift away. On what you say? I'm really not too sure, maybe you're just floating, I don't know. Take Care of You is one of the loneliest sounding songs on the album. It feels like the overwhelming dread you can't escape from the isolation and the loss of what came before it. Like you're in a big empty room of nothingness, but a piano and the faint sound of memories. Nobody is coming to find you. Braindeath, stylized as this big mishmash of characters, is a masterpiece of music and my favourite from the album. It feels like all the feelings pent up inside of you are let out in an explosion of emotion. It feels like the moment you finally see everything laid out in front of you. It builds excellently all the way through until the end of the track with its repeating keys and repeating vocal cut taken from Linkin Park's 2010 song Waiting for the End.
Flying at the speed of light, thoughts were spinning in my head.
And it uses its samples brilliantly to achieve such an immersive piece of media. By the end, it feels like a full rush of emotion and is almost overwhelming in its richness of sound. A climax to the songs before it, and a major highlight of the album. A contender for one of the most powerful songs ever, in my opinion. Milestone Kiss, stylized in Japanese as
マイルストーンキス
feels like a sweeping, bittersweet calm after the storm. A lot of emotion has already been ripped out of you, but you're still met by the feeling of isolation at the end of it. It almost feels like you're back at where the album started, ready to explore the plane of your own thoughts again. Romantic Memory 2, stylized in Japanese as
ロマンチックな思い出に
achieves the same purpose as Romantic Memory 1 does, while also confirming we are repeating the cycle again. More distant happy memories that shine as a sense of hope in the sea of dark. Ouroboros, stylized in Japanese as
ウロボロス
is a very heavy song. It feels like giving up, like the weight of the heavy distorted synths is crushing you. You fully accepted it if you hadn't before, and the sadness and agony that comes along with it feels like a pile of bricks on top of you. Death Dynamic Shroud also sampling Rebecca Peake's Romance Larghetto, which is another amazing song off an amazing album which I highly suggest checking out. She Sleeps Elsewhere hints to a possible long-distance relationship in whoever's story we are following, which makes the rest of the album more understandable if you have a beacon of light coming from the dark, but it's just a long way away and you don't know how to get to it. It's quite an empty song, with what feels like only distant memories playing in the background. You are empty at this point, hollow from the inside. Apartment, stylized in Japanese as
アパート
feels like looking to the outside, but still feeling like you're not there, like you're speaking to someone, a family member, a friend, but you still feel so distant from it, like you're watching it from inside your bedroom through your eyes, like you're dissociating.
3 years later, I came.
You're so used to the isolation that interacting with someone else has become foreign and doesn't feel real. Funnily enough, the sample of the man speaking in the track is Kevin Durant of all people, during his 2014 MVP acceptance speech, which has to be one of the weirdest crossovers in history. Lineup Turquoise, stylized in Japanese as
LINIP トルコ石
feels like you're at the bottom of a dark pit with the worst of your thoughts. You're forced to acknowledge that it's something you've actively thought about, no matter how morbid the thought is. It's scary, with loud screeches and crashes coming from all direction. You're stuck here with no escape, for now. Shroud, stylized as
Ψευδής
is a hauntingly beautiful soundscape of surging synths and the sound of crickets. It almost feels like you're looking back at the journey you've been through and learning to accept it. This part of the journey is over. We're finally at the final track of the album. No Love, No Money, stylized as another mishmash of characters, is a fitting send-off, not with a bang or another mental crash out, but with a sad acceptance. You've accepted isolation. It is a part of who you are now. Congrats! While still sounding out of pace, it is easily the most upbeat song on the album, weirdly. It almost feels like a reality you're not willing to accept, but it has to be done to continue in time. As the final note fades out, your journey is complete, brave soldier. You've done it. While maybe not the most conventional album of all time, Regret When It Was Lost is a powerful piece of media. No other album that I've listened to has tackled the subject of isolation so well, and doesn't directly need to tell you that it is either. It's just that good. I'm glad this album is finally getting the traction it deserves, because while I would still consider it underground, it's getting a lot more attention now than it was back in 2014. Saying that, they released it on vinyl for the first time this year, limited to 100 copies. Why? Now I have to sell my left kidney to afford it, but it's a price I'm willing to pay. I highly recommend you go out and listen to the album fully yourself, and consider supporting Death Dynamic Shroud if you like their stuff. They make amazing music. I will link all their socials down below.